I want to tell you exactly how I went from knowing absolutely zero about cloud, and in just 3 months, I was able to get my first six-figure offer letter for $135,000 a year. And so it's going to be super raw. I have some notes, I have some videos that I'm going to be looking into, but I really just want to give you guys the sauce, right? So get ready, take some notes, and let's get to it. So the first thing that I did was I had to choose my cloud provider, right? So there's AWS, there's Azure, and there's GCP. There's a bunch of them actually. Alibaba has like their own cloud, Oracle has their cloud, right? But the main three, AWS, GCP, and Azure. Okay. So what I want you guys to understand is, AWS has the most market shares. What does that mean? They have more businesses, right? There's a lot more businesses using AWS. Okay, so what does that mean? There's more jobs, there's more opportunities. Okay, and so you want to understand that AWS is dominating the game. And for me, I chose AWS to learn because I wanted to increase the likelihood of me getting an offer. Okay, I'm not no, frowning on GCP or Azure. They're still good. Once you learn one cloud provider, you can learn the other ones. Just same concepts, but they just use different names. Okay, and so you want to first go ahead and learn one cloud provider. That's why I learned AWS. You can choose whatever one you want to do, but that's what I did. And then you want to master the next thing you want to do. Okay, so step one, choose a cloud provider. Step two, you want to master the four core elements. Once again, you want to master the four core elements. What is that? Okay, so there's networking, there is operating systems, there's virtualization, and there's databases. So let's talk about networking. Without How you're watching this video right now is through networking, right? Your computer or your device on your phone is connected to YouTube, right? YouTube is on a server. This video is on a server. It's on another computer. And your computer or your device is communicating and talking to another computer. And so networking is how computers talk to each other. And as a cloud engineer, you need to understand the core fundamentals of networking because you need to be able to connect systems. You need to be able to not only build infrastructure using Terraform, right? But you need to be able to deploy applications, and you need to be able to configure, right? Not only security, but networking too as well. Okay, certain applications are going to run on different ports, and you need to allow different access into your your public or private subnet, so that your computer and your phone is talking to YouTube on a certain port. And so you need to understand the basics of how computers talk to each other. You need to understand about ports, protocols, things like that, because you're going to use that as a cloud engineer. Operating systems, right? You might be using a Windows computer, a Mac computer. As a cloud engineer, you need to understand how operating systems works, and you need to understand that I forgot the percentage. It's a very high percentage, and I'm not just going to say any random number, and right? But I don't remember the number. It's a high percentage, around the 90%. But most servers are running on Linux, and so you need to understand not only Windows. You need to understand Mac OS, and you need to understand Linux. That's the big three. There's other operating systems, but that's the big three. And there's different flavors of Linux. Like there's different, excuse me, there's different variations, right? Different flavors of Linux, right? Like Ubuntu, Fedora. There's different versions of Linux, but you want to be able to understand how to use a command line. You want to understand how to interact with a Linux operating system, the different commands, things like that, because as a cloud engineer, you're going to be building servers using Linux operating systems, deploying applications there, doing a lot of configurations. You need to know how to navigate the command line. But to use the command line, it runs on Linux. So that's that. Cool. So virtualization. This is the heart of cloud computers. Okay. Now, and it doesn't matter whatever cloud provider you choose, AWS, Azure, GCP, they all have virtualization. And AWS, the main service that I use is an EC2. What is an EC2? It's just a virtual computer. What is a virtual computer? Right? It's just somebody else's computer. I'm able to create another computer It's kind of, I don't want to complicate it. Just think about it's a way to like uh, isolate in a little box a computer. Let's say you have this house, right? I'm in a condo. I'm in Tulum right now, and in this condo, there's a room that I can go to, right? There's this big house, but there's a small apartment. There's a small room that that's still within the house, right? And so inside your computer, you can create a smaller computer. And why is the purpose of that? Maybe you want to do some testing. Maybe you want to deploy an application there, right? It's different use cases, right? I'm a day trader, so like I've actually created a trading bot and put that into AWS. Put that in, use virtualization to segment a piece of my computer, right? Because I didn't want it to be on my main computer, right? So I didn't use my own computer. I used an EC2, right? And EC2 is just a virtual computer. It's just another computer somewhere else, to keep it simple. But at the heart of it, it uses virtualization, right? It uses that technology. And so databases is a way for you. So databases is where you store information, right? So when you sign into Netflix, when you sign into your YouTube, like you're using your Google credentials, you have a username and a password, right? If you go to the bank, your bank website, Capital One, right? Literally, you have to use a username and password. That username and password is stored in a database, right? And as a cloud engineer, you need to be able to not only create databases using RDS, or you can create a virtual computer and install MySQL on there, and just doing it manually. But you need to be able to not only install databases, but you need to understand how they work and how to communicate with those databases using SQL. Okay, so I won't go super in depth with that one, but nonetheless, you need to be able to understand the core 4 fundamentals. This is what's going to create a foundation that you'll go off of as a cloud engineer. And this is exactly what I did this was a part of my learning journey, the things that I learned to be able to get my 6-figure offer letter for $135,000 a year. And it was a remote position. I only do remote positions because I'm a little bit bougie. I'm just kidding. Not really, I am a little bit bougie. But the third step you need to do, okay? Now, I do not believe in actually getting certifications, but learning information, right? Learning some of the core concepts is important, right? You need to understand, different. I'm saying the same thing, but different concepts in cloud. Okay, like infrastructure as a service, right? Platform as a service. What are these things, right? What are the different cloud platforms, right? How like inside a virtual computer, right? What's inside of a virtual computer, right? CPU, RAMs, and storage, right? Like you want to be able to I don't believe in going for certifications because like I got my AWS CCP, I got my Security Plus, I got my A Plus, I got a college degree, had 4 pieces of paper, and I was still driving Uber Eats. But I will say, you know, I didn't really need to learn. I didn't really need to take the test because it didn't really help me out. Um, but the information, some of the information in there was useful. And so to get your feet wet, you can just look and dive into like AWS CCP in terms of like learning some of the material, but you don't really need to take the test. Now, to each his own, you can do whatever you want, but that's just me if I knew better. And then the 4th step is you want to focus on core AWS services. Now in AWS, there's like 200 plus services. It's a lot of services, but you want to master these fundamentals. Take notes. There is VPC, there's IAM, there's EC2, there's CloudFront, there's S3, Route 53, CloudWatch, and Lambda. Now hear me when I say this. Hear me. Those services that I just listed, on my day-to-day, I would be using either one of those services. Now, I love cloud engineering because it's one of those jobs that you're not working all day, okay? You're not working all day. Side note, if you guys don't know, so I say this, a lot on my Instagram story or on some of the posts on my Instagram. But I retired my 9 to 5 last year, August 8th, 2025. I was 28 when I retired. All I did was I made money in tech. I did contract, like C2C contracts, to work multiple engagements. I took that money, I invested 95% of my income. Like, I'm a day trader at heart, right? So I know how to invest. I didn't really day trade the money, I didn't need to. I just long term invested with stock options. I did that for a decent amount of time, and I invested 95% of my income. Right, I was still living with my parents. And so, you know, I'm going to give you guys context by when I say when I was working, right? So I don't work anymore. I can go back to work if I want to, but I don't need to. And so um, all I do right now is just give value. I have a program for people learning the same system that I use to get to $500,000 a year. That's what I was making, and that's what I teach. If you're interested, go ahead and click the first link in the description below to see if you do qualify for our program. We don't just accept anybody. We accept people who are serious. And so there's a qualification process. Also, a lot of people say stuff online. If you go to my Instagram, it's going to be linked to. If you look at the highlights, you'll see my testimonials, my own offer letters with my pay stubs to show you the $500,000 a year. I was making $25,000 a month after tax. You can see that there. And then also you'll see some of my students, right? It's a bunch of them, but you'll see some of them. Some of them are making $500,000 a year. That's what I do, right? You'll see the offer letters. Then also you'll see a bunch of other people getting multiple offers and 1 or 2 offers, like some people who just started, who just got their first offer, right? And so talk is cheap, but anything that I do say, I have facts to verify it, and you guys will have access to view that too as well. And so I want to give you guys context by when I say when I used to work, okay? You'll see my first offer letter for $135,000. That's what I talked about in this video. It was July 21st, I think, or 23rd, 2023. So it didn't even take me that long to actually retire, right? So if you know how to invest, right? This is not financial advice. I'm not saying invest. I'm not saying to do anything. I'm just showing you what I did. Let's get back to the video. Now, those services are important. That's what I use like on my day-to-day. So take notes. Now, the 5th step is certifications are overrated, but projects matter more. Just having a certification is not going to get you a job. I had a degree and 3 certifications, and I was still struggling to get a job, okay? Certifications is like showing you the baseline of your understanding with the material, but you need to demonstrate hands-on skills, okay? And you do that by building projects. Look online, look at different jobs, look at the job description, and look at what they're asking for. You can even take I made a video on this, but you can take 20 jobs on Google or LinkedIn, take the job description, put that in the Google Doc, put that Google Doc into AI, and ask it, hey, look at this document and look at market research right now, currently, and look at what are all the projects that I can build to position myself as an authority and somebody that's in demand for what these companies are looking for. That is a gem. I cannot stress that enough. I always tell people, you don't have to join my program. I do have a program. It's an investment, but you don't have to join. And I say that because I want to share information that can truly help, right? This is free information. And if you just take what I just said about the Google Doc, the mark, all that stuff, you will literally see the projects that you need to build, right? My program just makes it easier because we walk through step by step, and we give you interview stuff, how to communicate, how to sell, how to brand yourself. So recruiters are reaching out to you consistently, right? That's what we do. But you don't, I'm not gonna say you don't need that, because you do need to get an offer. You do need recruiters to reach out to you. But I'll probably even give some gems on later videos on how to even do that. But I want to just express, if you do what I just said, it's not even funny. You'll literally see what the market is looking for, and you just build those projects, and then you just talk about them online on LinkedIn. Okay. Now I'm not going to make it as simple as and then you just do this. But the reality is, it's not rocket science. If you are serious, if you're committed, then you can look at my student success. You can, yeah. So anyways, don't just focus on certifications. You want to go ahead and build projects, okay? Then, right, learn a basic coding, right? You want to learn some type of basic coding. Python is what I use, and it's not mandatory, but it's definitely it gives you a kind of an edge. And so You know, for example, you need to know infrastructure as code, like Terraform. Terraform uses is a coding language, right? I hate coding with a passion. I never coded a line of code in my work experience because I used AI to do it. You do not need to know how to speak Spanish. You need to know how to understand Spanish. Okay? You don't need to know how to like code out of your brain. Oh, I need to remember. No, I hate coding. But for me, I need to understand the basics. ¿Cómo estás? Muy bien. How are you? Very good. Hopefully, yes, that was correct. I'm kidding. And so you need to understand the basics because a lot of what I use with Terraform is like variables, and then even with Jenkins, like with Jenkins file, Groovy script, like you're using basic like coding concepts, and it's like ¿Cómo estás? Muy bien. And I'm not coding it. I'm not speaking Spanish, like I just did. I'm hearing it in English. Sorry, I'm hearing it in English. I'm speaking English because I prompted AI to build the code for me. Hopefully that makes sense. And so you don't need to code, but you need to learn the basics. Okay. Step 7, you want to start building beginner projects. Now, I hate people that say like, "Oh, you want to go ahead and, create a cloud project that you can host your resume on an S3 bucket." Like that's so basic. If you were to ever put that on your resume, if you send that resume to me within my company, I can just say, "Okay, you watched the video on YouTube and you learn a basic project." No, you want to actually build projects that companies need by doing what I explained earlier in the video. So, right, some of the projects that you're going to see is cost optimization. Go ahead and check right now. I'm pretty sure you'll see cost optimization. Okay, if you type in AWS Cloud Engineer, remote jobs, cloud migration, look at what you'll see. So you want to build projects that's in demand. Okay, not just any basic project. I can't stress that enough. Okay, and now, honestly, I wasn't really gonna do this in this video, but I'm gonna give you guys some bonuses. Okay, so bonus number one. Yeah, I'm gonna do this. Bonus number one. You want to leverage LinkedIn. There's a lot of recruiters on LinkedIn, a lot, and there's a lot of recruiters on LinkedIn searching for candidates. This is what you're gonna do. You're gonna do two things. We're gonna call it inbound and outbound. Inbound is recruiters reaching out to you. Outbound is you reaching out to recruiters, right? You can even pay a VA to do this for you. Like I used to do this with a VA, right? So what you'll do is based on the projects that's in demand, right, that you research and you did, make sure you do them and you know how to communicate those projects very clearly. Yes, for example, yes, at this cloud migration project at my last company, the 1% University, it was my role. I'm gonna make a video about like interviewing because even saying it was my job is very important. You don't want to talk about what the team did. No, you want to talk about what you did. That's what they care about. So it was my role to fully design a cost-effective, secured, reliable architecture. And the first thing I did was I was able to use Terraform to build out the infrastructure, build out my EC2, my S3, my public and private subnet within my VPC, right? The port configurations, all with Terraform, the application load balancer to distribute the traffic, right? So you see how fluent I am with like communicating that? That is what you need to do for your projects when you do them. Then you want to ask ChatGPT or Claude, I use Claude now because it's better, to build you an SEO optimized resume. Very key because recruiters, when they look for candidates inbound, right, when they reach out to me, when they used to reach out to me, they're still reaching out to me to this day, actually, it's funny enough, but I just ignore them. But with my students, they reach out to my students and me because we have specific words on our resume and on our LinkedIn profile. IAC, Terraform, containerization. I know this because ChatGPT told me, and I asked the recruiters, "Hey, what did you search up on LinkedIn Recruiter when you reached out to me?" They were like surprised. "Oh, how did you know that?" I was like, "Yeah, I asked around." And they said, "Oh, we searched up Terraform." We searched up IAC, we searched up container. I was like, interesting, right? So it just validates what ChatGPT told me to do. And so, because they're searching for candidates. So imagine Google, right? And you're searching for something and you see different links that pops up. Those links are profiles. And so those profiles, if you have certain keywords, you'll pop up. Not only will you pop up and they'll reach out to you. Not only will they reach out to you, you'll respond with, yes, I am available today for a screening call. You get on the phone, yeah, of course. Do you have experience with Terraform? Yes, I actually use Terraform to actually, on my cloud migration project, I needed to migrate databases and applications from on-prem to AWS. You can simulate this. You don't actually have to have an on-prem server. Right? That's what I do in my program. Yes, I was able to blah, blah, blah. You practice communicating. You'll get the interview, and then you'll crush it. You're not going to get every single offer. You're not going to get offers for every interview, right? But if you practice your articulation, that's how it will go. But when the LinkedIn, you want to make sure your resume and your LinkedIn profile has those SEO words. And outbound, right? When you do apply, so I don't believe in applying for jobs. Like, to get a job is the worst way of getting a job. But I do apply to jobs, not even me, my VAs, because I only apply to remote positions, and so that's data. And so when recruiters reach out to me, like, they can see the jobs I'm applying for, and so there's a way that I get remote positions inbound, right? Because so they know the type of jobs I'm applying for. But when you're doing outbound, you can actually look at different companies you want to work at. You can go to like the jobs. You can go to the people and look at their talent. Like, look at the recruiters, and you can send outbound messages. Now, I don't have the template. You can ask AI to build you a template that will convert for outbound LinkedIn like messages, and it will tell you. It's pretty good. And so you want to create your resume and your LinkedIn profile for inbound leads, for inbound recruiters, and then outbound for, it actually does convert. I have one of my students, I wish I can show you guys my, I'll probably post it on my Instagram page. His name is Christopher. But I'll post it. But he has, let me see if, hopefully you guys, actually, let me see if you guys can see it. This guy is like crushing it in my course. He's crushing it. So, look at this. Let me see if I can do this. So, I don't know if you guys can see it, but Christopher, he literally has, so he's already gotten 3 offer letters. He joined my program in January 13th. It's April 3rd. He got 3 offer letters in 2 months and 5 days. So I think $487,000. You can look at the offer letters on my Instagram page. Actually, I will do that another time. So, anyways, he literally said, I would, here's the companies that's now pending. This is one company. Final conversation is next week. This company completed their interview process. TW final round, 1-round interview process scheduled for next week. Another 1-round interview. Blah blah blah. Right. There's 7, and then he secured another offer. Secured. Right. So he says all are in the final process or close to it. Right. And so, literally, he's asking, like, what are the best options for him, because, right, I teach how to job stack ethically and legally, right, which you do that through 1099s or C2C, but nonetheless he's using the same process. But it's just more detailed because he's in the program. But overall he's using the same process. Okay. But with Chris, he did literally the same thing I'm telling you guys. Okay. It's just more detailed, like, because there are more detailed videos inside the program, but you can still do it off this video. Outbound and inbound. Like, that's how you get so many. If you guys see the amount of interviews or people reaching out to him, it gets to the point where it's annoying, right? But that's how you know that it's working, right? There's other things that I do. I don't apply to jobs to try to get a job. I use that to get data, to get remote positions inbound, right? I don't even really do outbound, right? But I used to do it, used to work, but I don't need to do it. I have so many inbound leads coming in. And inbound recruiters, right? And so that is something that a bonus that you guys can do. Once again, if you guys are interested to see if you qualify for the program, go ahead and click the first link in the description below to see uh, how to get started today. Now, going back to the video, um, and like, you know, you want to like, I'll say that. So let me leave with that. That is that is the bonus. That's the big bonus that I want to give to you guys. Now, I want you guys to understand, like, don't get discouraged. Keep on learning, keep on building. I can't stress this enough. I was all in. I actually joined the program. It took me around 2 to 3 months to get my first offer letter, but I was locked in. Like, I knew this was gonna work. And anybody listening to this, if you are serious, lock in. Like, I can't stress this enough. It will dramatically change your life. Like, it is insane. My Uber just like came, so I actually have to go get my Uber Eats. Um, I didn't want to go out to get some dinner. I wanted to sit here and make a video for you guys on vacation, which is crazy. But I really want you guys to understand, locking in, keep on building projects. That's the only way you're going to really learn things properly, being in the field. I can't stress that enough. So if you found this video helpful, go ahead and leave a comment below, ask some questions, leave any comment you want. Subscribe if you haven't already, because I'm going to be giving you guys gems like this like almost every week. And so go ahead and look at my Instagram, check it out. Everything I said is verifiable. You can see it on my highlights. Talk is cheap, right? I have proof not only for my results, but my students. And if you're interested in the program, go ahead and click the link in the description below, and I'll see you in the next video.